Yeah, there's a fire in my backyard. It's in the woods, and there's a whole bunch of pine needles, pine straw, and it's spreading fast.
We do begin tonight with breaking news. Multiple crews are currently working to contain active wildfires burning across the PD and the Grand Strand as we speak.
1 year ago, one flame turning into a wildfire.
I just heard a firefighter say it's moving this way. Take a look up here. In fact, we might have to get out of here in a little bit.
Smoke blanketing Carolina forests, scorching 2,000 acres, forcing thousands to evacuate.
And in 2 minutes, we start seeing the flames. So he said, like, now, out now.
Some leaving with nothing but faith.
Before we left, I prayed over my house and the neighbor's house, the neighborhood.
Now, as we head through tonight, the winds will turn to the north and go almost calm. So there's the possibility that some of this smoke become a bit denser.
Here's a look deep into the county-owned portion of this fire. The ground and trees blackened, but no smoke, which is what fire officials like to see. That means the heat and embers are out.
The Covington Drive wildfire is now 100% contained.
365 days later, the smoke is gone. The homes are standing, but the memories still burn long after the last ember faded.
Yes, it was not a process, a journey that I would wish on anyone.
Tonight, we look back at how communities rose from the flames as we look forward to what's changed, what protections are in place, and are crews ready if it were to happen again. This is an ABC 15 News, Your Voice, Your Future Town Hall. Ashes to action. 1 year after the fire.
From up above, the scars of the Covington Drive wildfire are apparent. More than 2,000 acres were burned, with some areas seeing heat intense enough to suffocate fire-adapted forests.
You can actually see the charring on the tree. That's how high the flames wrap around the tree.
From the ground level, we get an up-close look at how one of the most impacted areas has recovered 1 year after the fire, with forester Drake
And
Carroll.
all this is your bay vegetation. This was our problem area that night. We were worried about it, especially because of the houses and stuff. Especially with that 180-degree wind shift coming back towards the communities.
The area sits deep within the Walker's Woods neighborhood, about half a mile north of where the fire originated in Covington Lake. This is what the ground level forest looked like 1 month after the fire, and now a year later. In some parts, Carroll says, it's flourishing.
Oh, it's still a great rebound. And that's just the overall dynamic of your Carolina bays.
This area marks the perimeter of the Tuckahoe Bay. It's a unique ecosystem that Carroll says historically has thrived from fires.
The vegetation, the ecosystem, it always bounces back.
Even areas where forestry crews had to clear vegetation, it's seen sprouting from stumps shaved down to reduce fire fuels.
Now we have this low vegetation, but before and during the fire, it looked just like this over to the right. All this was green, all this was those bay bushes, tie-tie, gallberry, all those flammable bay bushes that we talk about, we stress to remove, right? So that same level was right here of readily available fuels up towards the tops of these trees.
Trees that stand black and torched, casualties of the fire that will leave a mark for years to come. But Carroll says the new life that has risen from the ashes, it's far more evident now than in the early days after the fire.
We can say, because you can go around and you can see a lot of still bare tops on the pine trees that are not green now, right? So all those trees died. But if you actually go out and look at it, the majority of them, and I would say, looking across, 80 or 90% of the actual trees survived.
Defensible spaces. When I did this story about a year ago, I compared them to a moat surrounding a castle, which in that case was your home. Now, I can't start this story the exact same way, and I can't think of another analogy, so let's try a visual demonstration to kick us off. This is a home that I do not own. That is a tree line, which you might think of as pretty, but Darrell Jones from the South Carolina Forestry Commission has another word for it.
End of the day, I see fuel. People buy buy a house in a forest and they want the view and all. And I may be pessimistic, but I see fuel that if it gets dry and we have the right weather, that could rush toward the home and really cause a threat.
Now, nature is of course all around us. So how much space do we, and more importantly, firefighters really need?
Typically, we ask for at least 30 feet between the edge of the houses and the woods or the surrounding fuels. But we want that to be fairly open, not saying there can't be any trees, but we don't want it really dense. We don't want shrubbery or anything like that right near the house. We don't want propane tanks maybe or firewood stuck there, other stuff. Our goal really is to keep the fire in the woods and away from the homes, and that gives a place to set up and work and defend the structures.
Now, my tape measure is only 25 feet long, but thankfully I am at least 5 feet tall. So as you can see, this home is good. Whoever the homeowner is, good job. But having this much room isn't always common when firefighters come up on an active scene. And Joan says it really can be the difference on whether or not you're able to go home after a fire.
Depending on how fast the fire is moving, we may not have time to move any vegetation that's there or get the deck cleaned off or something like that. So really the difference sometimes is that, yeah, we can defend this home and we feel like it's something doable, we can be successful. Or if there's too much fuel or too much stuff there, we may have to make a really difficult decision, say this house is, the fire's coming too fast and we don't really have time to safely go in there and protect that home.
So we're all aware of how important defensible spaces are. We being not only you and I, but also our leaders in Horry County. If you remember from our story last year, Horry County Council, the Planning Commission, and a special committee came up with a plan they called Envision 2025 all the way back in 2008. Basically an outline of what the county wanted and needed to accomplish over the next 17 years. And in it, there's a whole section on wildfires that explains the need for defensible spaces. And the county concluded the action that needed to be taken was to amend the land development regulations to address defensible space as a wildfire mitigation technique when new development is proposed in close proximity to large tracts of forested land. When we did the story last April, there was not a single mention of defensible spaces in the county's land development regulations. Now, since that story, the county has posted 3 updated supplements to their Code of Ordinances, which includes the land development regulations. And in those supplements, there have been 21 amendments and 5 ordinances that have been adopted but not codified. Still, on the heels of the longest running wildfire in state history happening in our backyard, no mention of defensible spaces. This would be where we include a soundbite from the county explaining why that's the case, but the county declined our request to interview anyone involved with the Planning Commission. And Horry County Councilman Dennis DiSabato, whose District 3 is more or less the entirety of Carolina Forest, did not respond when I reached out to him twice. And again, it's not like the idea that we need defensible spaces was lost to time somewhere between 2008 and 2025. In 2020, the county came up with Imagine 2040, same setup as Envision 2025, but for 20 years down the road this time. There's even more written on defensible spaces in there, and the county stated that the action that needed to be taken was the exact same, only changing tracts to areas and making forest land one word. Still, for now, it's up to you alone to keep that fuel away from your home, and hope your neighbors do too.
And that's really what we ask for, somewhere that our equipment can go in and buys us a little bit of time to prepare your home before the house gets there. And it may be your home and your neighbor's home and the neighbor's home. It may be that you're all real close together and it's a bigger problem than just your property, but everybody can do something to make it a little bit easier for us to save the homes and protect people.
In the middle of the night, Bridget Scholl, like dozens of her fellow Carolina Forest neighbors, was forced to leave her home in Walker's Woods. This video shows her home with flames towering over the forest behind it. And this is what she returned to Sunday, March 2nd, 2025.
And I thought at the beginning, I was like, I got this. It's fine, I mean, again, you don't know what you don't know. And so it's who knew that it was going to take as long? And who knew that I was going to have to fight as hard as I've had to fight?
All right, we got one of the structures in danger at this time.
Firefighters' efforts through the night worked. Her home was drenched and disfigured, but still standing.
It really looked like melted skin. It just, and the windows had cracks in it from the heat.
Damage that would linger months after the state's longest burning fire in history was at last put out.
It was not a process, a journey that I would wish on anyone.
She says workers replaced the siding 6 months later in September. Before that, the interior of her home, including her belongings, had to be removed, cleaned, and repaired. The carpet was ripped out and replaced. Walls had to be scrubbed down and repainted, damaged by smoke stains. Signs of the work are still evident a year later.
All those pieces of trying to get it put back together and having a fight. It's like everything was a fight.
A fight that's also carried a hefty cost, financially and mentally, for Shoal.
I had to take out, loans myself just to make sure, because I'm like, that's stressful in itself. When somebody threatens you with a lien, like, I don't know what you want me to do.
She says the process got bogged down because repair costs had to funnel through her homeowner's insurance and mortgage providers. She said contractors demanded payments for unfinished work, and she's still working to get reimbursed to cover the loans.
How would you paint the picture of what this year was?
Of 2025?
One of the hardest years of your life?
Hell.
The total cost of the Covington Drive wildfire, we may never really know. A spokesperson for the State Department of Insurance tells me they didn't collect data on the insurance claims resulting from the fire. The one aspect of this journey that was a positive, for Shoal at least, she says, it was her neighbors. Community members who I spoke to off camera telling me they had to get their HVAC systems replaced, their fencing and siding repaired, some projects easier than others. But through this entire ordeal, the community came together, and she saw that firsthand, neighbor helping neighbor when they could.
At least I do have a home to come back to. And I've met some wonderful people and stuff, whatever, in my ventures, met some great people and everything. And so that's what I try to keep in my mind, like the positive part.
We are, of course, in wildfire season, and there are certain ingredients that do lead to an elevated fire danger. First of all, the humidity. When it's low, the air obviously is very dry. That's never good for a fire situation. You also have to deal with the winds during the months of March and April, higher than they typically are the rest of the year. And when those winds are gusting up over 30, 35 miles per hour, it can easily dry things out. And if there is a fire, cause it to spread pretty rapidly. And of course, the biggest one is a lack of rainfall. If you have little or no rainfall for a lengthy amount of time, everything is dry. And unfortunately, we're in one of those situations right now where we have a drought across all of North and South Carolina. In our area, moderate to severe drought. So what we really need is some precipitation around here. I don't think we're going to see any for most of this week. And overall, as we head through the weekend and next week, it's not promising, with likely near average rainfall, while the highest amounts of rain are going to be farther to the west as we head through the next 6 to 10 days or so. Another factor we watch very carefully is the wind. Thankfully, that is not going to be a huge problem for us, simply because we have no major weather systems coming our way. So expect the winds to stay below 15 miles per hour through the weekend and into the early part of next week. Because the wildfire season continues through at least April, please be careful. Don't do any unnecessary burning, and heed the warnings and alerts that come from various agencies about a burn ban.